seyithwesa abantu noma isici siyaqala ke ihlala phansi ilalela icala.
Listening, my lord, yes.
Thank you.
Yebo ngilalele.
Thank you, Brigadier. And I've got no doubt in my mind that in this case, that is exactly what happened.
Athi akanako ukungabaza ke na ke ngicabanga ukuthi kulecala ngabe yilokho kwenzeka.
Before we proceed, or before I proceed, you had indicated that at some point there was an application for a warrant of arrest against Kelly Khumalo, which was not authorized. Did I get you well in that?
Athi ke esikhathini esidlule kunala ukukhuluma khona ke ngodaba lokuthi khona ke incwadi kade wena ke uyicelile noma isicelo kade usenzile sencwadi ezokuvumela noma ezokuphilungelo lekuthizeni amaphoyisa ke besabopha uKelly Khumalo athi ngabe ukuzwe kahle ama akuzwile kahle ngalo daba lolo.
That is correct, my lord.
Athi yebo ngizwe kahle.
Thank you. Because also that information is now in the public domain. Actually, it came from you. What were the reason why that application was declined?
Athi ke lolo lwazi lolo liqhamuke nawe ke manje umbuzo ukuthi kungani isicelo lesibangakazi basivume noma kungani sile banqaba ke isicelo leso.
So the first part of the question, my lord, it is not 100% correct to say it came from me. It was initiated by the late Advocate Mngomezulu during the trial within trial. And
athi lapho kumalana nephuzu loqala akusukuthi ulwazi oluqhamuke naye. Kepha kulwazi lwaqhamuka nosele ashona noma sele angasekho ke umnumzana Advocate Mngomezulu ngesikhathi kade abuza ke imibuzo ngesikhathi kade khona ke umzila ngaphakathi kumzila la enkantolo noma icala kade ehlelwe phansi la enkantolo.
And such a statement then, my lord, was read. I read it. But I was under cross-examination by the defense of accused number 1.
Athi ke futhi ngesikhathi leso ke khona ke statement lapho ke safundwa ke lapho ke futhi kade bemphenya noma kade bembuza ke imibuzo malana nodaba lwakamsola wokuqala.
And I indicated, my lord, that the reasons firstly were the issues of further investigations, which started as early as October. Subsequently, this statement that I'm talking about was in November 2014. So there were instructions that DPP felt that they should be acquired, but then subsequently the strategy of approaching the case moving forward. So it was a folded approach. It was not one. At the beginning, it was further investigations which were done, because if one looks at the time when we made a memorandum and indicating the phone numbers, and one looks, rather if you look at what was available when the memorandum was done and what was contained in the statement later for the warrant of arrest, there was more things. There were more things insofar as Ms. Kelly Khumalo. But during the discussion, then further investigations and certain approach were then discussed with the DPP, my lord.
My apologies, my lord. Can the witness please repeat it again?
So it was further instructions and the approach to the case, basically.
Okay. Athi lapho ke ngesikhathi kade kusenzeka lokho ke khumule khona ngathi icala leli noma mhlambi ke lapho ke udlame noma mhlambi isehlo noma mhlambi ke lapho ke yebo isehlo senzeka ngoOctober futhi ngesikhathi ngenyanga kaNovember kula kade khona kubesesha noma kade bephenya ke khona ke njalo ke icala leli ke futhi athi khona ke inqumo noma mhlambi lapho ke uhambo noma mhlambi kusesha kwecala noma mhlambi ukuphenya kwecala kade kusenziwa khona ke lapho ke futhi xa ukuthi kukhona ke inkulumo ezenzeka lapho ke futhi izo ezenzaka ukuthizeni banqabe noma yebo banqabe ekuthizeni bakhiphe ke incwadi lekuthizeni uKelly Khumalo aboshwe.
Brigadier, I don't want to assume that I understand your answer now. I perfectly don't understand it.
Athi akazwisisi ke akazwisisi neze impendulo yakho phane ngayo.
Now, oh sorry, you're saying the reason why that application was declined is because of further investigation. Further instructions. In that case, the investigation was started with in 2014. I'm unable to follow the reason why this application, as per your explanation, was declined.
Athi Yena-ke akakhoni ukuzwisisa ukuthi ngabe kungani isicelo lesi basinqaba bangakazi basivumele ngoba ukhulume ukuthi khona-ke inkulumo lapho ekade ikhulunyiwe nokade kade uyitsheliwe lapho-ke mayana nokuthi futhi nokuphenya kwecala noma nokuseshwa kwecala ngabe kahle kahle uthi yini ukhuluma lo mnumzane.
Please make me understand
Athi ucela ukuthi umenze azwisise
the reason why application for warrant of arrest against Kelly was declined.
athi ucela ukuthi lapho-ke umlekelele futhi umsize ngendlela eqondile ejulile ekuthizeni umtshele izizathu ekukuthi kungani isicelo sencwadi leyo kade uyicelile ekuthizeni uKelly Khumalo-ke aboshwe ukuthi bayinqabe incwadi leyo.
You know, the language is obviously incorrect. You're using declined. The other time you used authorized. The DPPP, in terms of the law anyway, decides whether a person must be charged or not. The DPP also decides whether a warrant of arrest should be issued against a person or not. And if he doesn't do that, the policemen who have come with, to put it loosely, a recommendation, don't have any power to dissuade the DPP from doing his job. That's how I understand the law. So, the DPP, can think there's conclusive evidence that Baloyi must face charges, and the DPP refuses to charge. You've got remedies in terms of the law, which you can initiate. Like, for instance, to quote a case which is known by everybody, the case of the state versus Tint. It's been going for 20 years or 10 years, where a particular well-known individual was not charged in the initial matter. Some other person was charged, and that other person, allegedly, who were in cahoots with a person who is not charged, was sentenced to jail for I don't know how many years. And then the other person, subsequently, when there was a change of a DPP, the new DPP then charged the second person. That's how I understand the law. Am I correct in interpreting? I mean, you're a senior advocate.
Yes, in the sense that it's NDPP, not DPP.
NDPP.
NDPP,
Sorry.
yes.
National Director of Public Prosecutions, in other words. DPP is his junior, like the Doit and Baloyi and the doctor here.
Manje kusenkantolo lapho-ke kade ibukisa futhi noma kade mhlawumbe idulika lokhona-ke lapho mayana nezomthetho-ke abasebenza ngakho lapho kumahhovisi wabashushisi abakhulu lana eNingizimu Afrika-ke athi lapho-ke iphoyisa angekhe libe sesimeni esiqondile noma esimeni esikahle ethizeni siphenduleke mayelana nalo mbuzo kade ummelweni ubuze ukuthi kungani incwadi lena ekuthizeni uKelly Khumalo aboshwe-ke noma isicelo sakhe sokuthi mayelana nencwadi kade eyicelile ekuthizeni uKelly Khumalo aboshwe ukuthi kungani kade esele bayinqaba lapho-ke ukuthi bangayivumeli incwadi leyo-ke bese inkosi enkantolo yathi khona-ke lapho-ke iphoyisa ngekhe likhona ukuthi liphendule kahle-ke lapho umnumzana ubaba uGininda ngeke akhona ukuthi aphendule lapho-ke mayelana nodaba lolo-ke ngoba kusiwe uthatha isinqumo-ke lapho-ke kepha-ke ithimba noma-ke ihhovisi labashushisi abakhulu sho ukuthi lapho-ke National Director of Prosecutors ngesingisi ethatha isinqumo thizeni umuntu kumele bamthuse icala noma akumele ukuthi bamthuse icala.
Is it please the court, my lord? This witness had already gave the reason why the application for the warrant of arrest against Kelly was declined.
By whom? Declined by whom? That's the point.
That doesn't matter, my lord, for me, in my cross-examination.
For me, it matters because I'm a judge. And if you say there's a person who has power to have declined a particular exigency, I must understand that language. That's why I said I let it pass when you said it was not authorized. It was declined.
Yes. Maybe just to assist the court as to who did not authorize it.
Yes.
The witness can answer that.
That's it. That's different.
Yes.
Manje bacela ukwazi ukuthi ngabe ubani ke lo ongakaze avume ekuthizeni ke avume incwadi le ode uyisebenzisile masicelo sakho sencwadi malana nokuthi uKelly Khumalo aboshwe.
My Lord, the procedure was as I've indicated. You collect the evidence, we forward it to the DPP here in Pretoria. Then decisions will be given to say indict on these ones, further investigation. That's how it unfolded, my Lord.
Athi-ke lapho ke isizathu salokho kukuthi yena ke wathatha ke ubufakazi kaDanabo ke futhi wamnikisa kumahhovisi abashushisi abakhulu amakwethimba abashushisi abakhulu lehhovisi lana ke Pretoria bese athi ngemuva kwalokho bese umthetho na kumele uhambe ngalana kamacala malana nalabantu.
But it was not the correct context, my Lord, that must be explained. There was no decline. We never reached a deadlock with DPP where they say, despite this evidence, we don't want to charge. There were, as I've said, there were further instructions and the approach that the DPP wanted to take in prosecuting the case. And that's not my terrain, my Lord. I can't impose. I can only present what I have and take guidance from the people who will lead the case during the prosecution. But it will not be correct to say there was a refusal. There were certain discussions, but there were no position to say, despite what we see, we don't agree or we refuse. It was simply further instruction at first, and then the approach to the matter. That was my understanding of why then the Kelly Khumalo was not added.
Athi-ke lapho ngeke athina ke incwadi leyo bayinqaba abakaze bayivumeka abayithimba labashushisi abakhulu ke lapho-ke kepha uyasho khona nje ngemuva kwenkulumo zabo noma ngesikhathi kade bekhulumisana khona njalo bexoxa ithimba lakhe futhi ithimba labashushisi ke lapho-ke kulaba mtshela khona ekuthizeni ngoba kade besaphina ke icala futhi bona kwathatha isinqumo sokuthizeni lo nto leyo ingenzeki mhlawumbe abaza nohlangothi ukuthi lelo daba lolo lungenzeki athi akusuye futhi yena lapho-ke akanawo umthelela walolu daba lolo.
And lastly, my Lord, it will really be, I think, difficult for me and to an extent unfair if then I'm placed in a position where I must speak on behalf of the NPA, because then I don't think I have that ground. I did my part. I presented the evidence and I indicated what was discussed. I'm not sure if I'm in a position to take it further than that insofar as the decisions that the NPA take, my Lord. I don't think I'm qualified to do that.
Athena-ke acabanga ukuthi uzesimeni esiqondile noma esimeni esikahle ethizini kakhulu malana ney'nqumo ithathwa lapho-ke ithimba labashushisi abakhulu kuhhovisi labashushisi abakhulu-ke lapho-ke ngoba-ke bona-ke basebenza ngendlela yabo ekhethekile eyaziwa yibona kuphela yena-ke akanalo ulwazi ukuthi bona basebenza kanjani uma ngaba iza kudaba lokuthi bathatheke iy'nqumo athi futhi akazi ukuthi isizathu yini sokuthi incwadi yebo ukuthi bangamniki ukuthi bangayivumi-ke lapho-ke noma bangamvumeli noma mhlawumbe bayinqabe incwadi yakhe kade ayicelile ekuthizeni naye bamthwese icala futhi mayelana ukuthi aboshwe futhi athwese icala njengokufana nabasolwa.
Those are my responses, my Lord.
Athi yebo iyona-ke impendulo yakhe leyo.
Brigadier, we've mentioned the reason why it was not approved. It was for further instructions. My question was very simple. What did this mean, this further instruction? What was this further instructions for?
Bathi bakuzile-ke umbuzo-ke mnumzana obakubrigadier uGininda ukuthi kungani bengayivumile incwadi isicelo sakhe okuthizeni uKelly Khumalo naye aboshwe futhi athwese amacala njengabasolwa-ke esathi wena kungemuva kwey'nkulumo zenu-ke lezo ake ninazo-ke lapho-ke manje ummeli ufisa ukwazi ukuthi yiy'nkulumo ziphi-ke lezo.
My Lord, the procedure when you submit a docket to the DPP, you submit the docket and then you leave. You do not sit, like for instance in this situation where there are 3 advocates. I've never been in a situation where I sit with them and hear their views insofar as the decision, particularly in the decision-making process, where I'm part of it. So that's why I'm saying it's difficult for me to be placed as to why action insofar as Ms. Kelly Khumalo is concerned was taken, because I was not there. All I can say is that there were instructions for further investigation at the beginning, and then subsequently the case then it kicked off, because when I applied for a warrant of arrest, the case had already kicked off in Boksburg. In other words, the first appearance on the 27th of October had already came and gone. And the next appearance, I think, was on the 27th of November, somewhere there. So I'm not sure if I can take it further than that, my Lord, insofar as the NPA position is concerned. I'm not qualified, my lord, really, with due respect.
Athi yena ke lapho kokwenzeka ngesikhathi kade amikisa ke ipresentation kama mhlawumbe idocket lakhe kumofisi wethimba labashushisi ke abakhulu ke lapho kade yena kakaza ahlale phansi nabo futhi afuna idocket nabo bese bakhulumisana ngedocket bebonkana mhlawumbe hlezi bebathathu ke lapho ke asithi mhlawumbe yena njengomholi lokade ahola ke ithimba labaseshi bezesiphoyisa futhi nethimba labashushisi ke lapho ke athina into awayenza ukuthi amikise ke docket lapho ke phela bese ahambe ke lapho ke athakaza ukuthi bona ngesikhathi ade bebheke idocket ukuthi yini siphi isinqumo noma yini into ebanthe kusinqumo abasithatha ke lapho ke futhi athi ukhumbula khona nje athi ngelanga la nge27 zaka October ngesikhathi baqedela lapho ke usearch icala malana nalomuntu othizeni ke lapho ke kade sele abasola bebavele sebeqhamukile ngaphambi kwenkantolo yaseBoksburg ngelanga la nge27 zaka October futhi athi acabanga khona nje athi mhlambe baqhamuka ngaphambi kwenkantolo futhi ngelanga la nge27 zaka November khona lapho akanaso isiqiniseko selanga lesibili ngesikhathi atenivela ngaphambi kwenkosi yenkantolo.
And the instruction, my lord, for further investigations insofar as Ms. Kelly Khumalo was really the instruction that said find more evidence to connect Ms. Kelly Khumalo to the accused in this matter. It was just around that, my lord.
Athi futhi malana nenkulumo ke yaqhamuka ekuthizeni ngesikhathi kade bemtshela kahamba ayophenya ayophenyisa isicala noma mhlamba enze kokuphenya kwecala kahle ngeqondile futhi endlela ejulile kade bamtshela ukuthi yena ke noma mhlamba inkulumo kade ihambisana kulolu noma kade ihamba ngalo hlangothi lokuthi kumele ukuthi ahambe ayophenya icala lakhe kahle ngendlela ejulile futhi ngendlela eqondile ke bese abuye athole ukuthi ngabe yini exhumanisa uKelly Khumalo futhi nabasolwa kule cala leli.
That's my response, my lord.
Athona ke impendulo yakhe anayo leyo.
Thank you, Brigadier. At least the final point, it sounds more intelligent. The instruction that came from the office of the DPP was to the effect that go find more evidence to connect Kelly to the accused person, and therefore on those bases, we want authorize, we want authorize that a warrant of arrest against her should be issued.
Athi lapho ke uyabonga ke babu Brigadier uGininda ngoba impilo yakhe impilo ehlakaniphile le impilo yogcina ukhulumile athi lapho kusubatshela ukuthi wena ke hamba uyothola ufakazi obuqondile futhi ufakazi lobo obuxhumanisa ke abasola bonkana futhi noKelly Khumalo ngaphambi kokuthi ke ithimba labashushisa abakhulu noma ihhovisi abashushisa abakhulu ke lapho ke bavume mana nesicelo sakho sencwadi yakho ekuthizeni ke uKelly Khumalo naye aboshwe.
I'm listening, my lord.
Athi yebo ngilalele.
Now, in other words, that which you had presented to the office of the DPP, with which you are trying to link Kelly Khumalo to the commission of these offenses here, the DPP looked at it and found that it had no, it's something that they cannot use to drag Kelly or to frog match Kelly into the court.
As a court, please, my lord. I really fail to understand this line of cross-examination. The witness has repeatedly said he doesn't know what the reasons are, why the office, the DPP, took this particular decision, and we submit, my lord, that it's unfair now to ask this question to the witnesses. He already said he can't take it further than that. As a court, please.
Maybe the state is listening to another evidence here. The witness says, I cannot take it further than that.
I think these acerbic and obnoxious comments from my learned friends should now come to a stop. I think he should just carry on with his work without having to make these ad hominem attacks.
This witness says, I'm unable to take it further than that. But because he's such an laborious person, he finally comes to a point where he says that he was instructed to go find more evidence to connect Kelly to the accused persons. That is the reason why I am saying that apparently the state is listening, it's not listening to the same evidence that we're listening to here. Whether that is acerbic or what, it's for him to make that judgment. But I'm meticulously listening to this witness, which is the reason why I am then saying, Brigadier uGininda, thank you very much. Because at least what you have just said in the last part of your answer makes sense. That the DPP said to you, we are unable to authorize that warrant of arrest because what you have brought to us now is insufficient. Can you please go and find more evidence in order to connect Kelly Khumalo to this accused person? It came from this witness. So what is acerbic there? But in any event, let me proceed.
Now the acerbic,
Let me proceed, my lord.
it's not what you are saying, it's what your comment is.
That the state is not listening to the same evidence.
Yeah.
Exactly, my lord, because I do not expect such an objection from
You know
my
what?
colleague.
You guys have
or-
lectured
or
you.
of such a senior level.
Mr. Mnisi, I've lectured you on the discourse of court proceedings.
Yes.
I actually read how you mustn't address each other. That's why I'm keeping quiet now. That's why I'm keeping quiet.
I think it's best for the court, my lord, to keep
Yeah,
quiet.
because
yes.
I've
Because then
realized that
Yes.
some counsels here,
yes.
they don't care about etiquette, the etiquette and the decorum of court. He's listening to another case. That's why he's taking offense. Because
Exactly,
he's
my
only
lord.
listening to this case. And if you interpret that he's listening to another case, somebody angathi udakiwe mos.
Well, I don't know.
Yeah, no interpretation. The
I don't know,
interpretation.
I don't
If he's
know,
listening
I
to
don't
another
know.
case and he's sitting
All-
here with me for 5 hours a day, then there's something wrong with him. That's how he interprets it. You can ask him.
My lord, the fact that somebody would say he's drunk, that doesn't come from me.
Yes.
It didn't come from me. I am only making that submission
You must,
simply
you
because...
must analyze the word acerbic. Analyze it. Fine. Let's continue.
We can have a dictionary, my lord.
No,
that we can
I don't.
analyze
Me,
it.
I know. I don't want a dictionary. You can
Okay,
check
then
it.
I do not know it.
Yeah, fine.
Yes. But the fact of the matter is, at least this witness, ultimately, painfully so, he mentioned that ultimately the office of the DPP told him to go find more evidence against Kelly Khumalo in order to tie her in this case. And thank you very much for that, sir.
My lord, I think I'm being quoted out of context. I've said that part and I've said it proper, so perhaps let me then start again. I said prior to the appearance of this accused, Ms. Kelly Khumalo was part of the people based on the evidence that we had, which I was of the view that she should be arraigned with the accused. We then...
Athi-ke ufakazi lapho-ke yena-ke